Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new How to Bass tutorial. And today, I'm going to teach you how to make this not at all annoying sound. This is actually based on what we talked about last time, I think, which was all about the phaser stuff. And this is still more phaser stuff, and it's actually for the same reason, because I had a student who wanted to learn how to do a certain sound. And the way that I got the closest to it was to use a phaser in much the same way. I am, however, switching it up a bit and doing some more interesting things. So I have here the chain. This guy, this is just some extra sub. You really could just do this yourself, but the main bit is that I'm utilizing Oscillator Sync. Oscillator Sync is where you have an oscillator that moves at a certain pitch, and you have another oscillator that can move at any other pitch it wants, but the oscillation still restarts every time the other oscillator still restarts, which is a master and slave relationship. If you ever use Serum and you use the sync mode, that's what that does. If you ever used anything else that has a sync mode, that's what that does. But you notice I'm using Citrus. You probably don't remember there being a sync mode. And that's because I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm doing it by FMing a saw against another saw. Same pitch, same saw, same everything. It's just a saw. And as it turns out, it's because of a very interesting property of using a saw wave to FM sound, where it because the way that FM works digitally is that it controls phase instead of pitch directly, which means that when you change the phase of something while it's playing, you're changing its pitch. And the form of a saw wave means that the phase is always moving in one speed the entire time. One direction, one speed, and the one speed means that it's going to come out as being one solid pitch. However, it is going to be a different pitch from the original pitch, and what this means is that while it still is a different pitch, it's going to restart every time based on the fact that the oscillation is going to restart every time. So that means that it's going to be a different pitch, but it's only going to fit. It's going to fit within the original oscillation's length. And this is Oscillator Sync. For all I know, this is actually how Oscillator Sync is done and everything else, except that I'm pretty sure Serum is just doing it brute force method, where it's just doing it. But this is what Oscillator Sync is, and a lot of people were asking me how to do like the noisy Tommy theme sound, and I actually did a tutorial on that, but in case you want to know just sort of what that sounds like, and this should sound kind of familiar. That's what that sounds like. So that's the sound that's going on underneath the phaser. The phaser has no frequency, and that's the part that matters. You might be thinking, well, these are doing things too. And the thing is, though, is that while it's moving, and then when you stop it, it's going to stop at a particular position, and that's kind of going to be different for you than it was for me. But the purpose of the phaser is to cause a whole bunch of holes in the sound. We can kind of see it when we look at what the bandpass is doing. You can see like the various columns and stuff that are coming in underneath it. That's what's causing a particular quality of the sound. We talked about this in the last How to Bass, but I guess I'm going to assume that some of you didn't see that yet. So a little bit of feedback means that those columns are going to be a bit sharper than usual, and the number of stages means basically how many of those columns there are, and the depths determine where they are. And really what I did was I just set this to nothing, and then I just kind of moved this around until it went to around where I wanted it to be. Just kind of find where you like it, and that's kind of what that is. Then you can also change the density of the stages. Until you find the part that you're most comfortable with. And then, of course, there's a bandpass. The important thing about this bandpass is that I actually kept it on the regular order mode, which is just to say 2. And this means that it's still bleeding on either side, but it's still pretty thin, so we get that sharper, resonant kind of peak business before the distortion, which is the big old super saturated, rather loud distortion. And it's going into a split. This is just the high frequencies that are being reverbed, wet. This is so to add some stereoness to it. Don't really need to do that if you don't want to, but that's what that's there for. And then this is just an EQ to kind of control it a little bit. I rolled off on some of the super highs because it got really sharp, which you'll discover when you do it yourself. And then of course it's compressed, but this compression isn't really, I mean, it's kind of over the top, but it's not really super damaging as it usually is. It's mostly just kind of shaping it so it sounds okay. With no bass because I have a sub. The bass is kind of cut off. I actually just muted the sub channel, like the bass channel down there, and then I'm making it up with a sine wave. which is going into a limiter just to keep it below 0 dB. That's kind of what that's there for. And you could do that before the Maximus. There's stuff you can just high pass it with the equalizer and do that kind of thing, but I don't really care. Equalizer. As for the automation, I'm automating the FM between one saw and the other saw, which is changing the depth of the oscillator syncingness. And then I have this bandpass, which is just doing this, a thing that I put down. That's what just a regular saw wave by itself sounds like. I kind of screwed around with the min and the max values here because I put that in the shape, but then I kind of want to move it around. But you, of course, can even move it around as much as you want. It'll sound weird, but you'll find a kind of you'll find a flow for where you want stuff to be. Good times. But yeah. It's not really, I mean, the oscillator sync is kind of the star of the story here because we have been messing around with the phasers enough to kind of know what they do. What? It's like a question. It's asking you, do you want a bass? Anyway, I'll put up this patcher for, I guess I'll put up this FLP for download so you can mess around with the project. Actually, no, I'll just use the patcher. Just to reiterate, the parameters we're messing around with is this X mod, which is the FM between the two of these, and this bandpass parameter. It's really the only one there. In fact, actually, you can do this cool thing where you can disable them and they just kind of vanish. If you want to bring them back, you can change the value up here. But I'm doing that just to make it really clear that this is the thing you automate. And then, yeah, I would give the FLP, but so many of you are still using FL11, and if you tried to open it, it wouldn't work, and you wouldn't have a good time trying to get the preset out but by itself. So, just a preset, and then you have fun with that. Although I think sometimes there's still some issues with that, but I think there's less issues than if you tried to actually open a project. But yeah, so that should work out. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. And as usual, have a nice day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all the whatever you thought I wasn't going to say it. You thought I was going to forget. And you were right. I forgot. But I still said it because I remembered. But please, have a nice day.